Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Okay. I have some downloads I would like to share with you guys. I also am going to be pausing because I want to be able to do a reading at the end of this. Okay. This is actually my second time recording this one. I'm not going to post the other one because it was so long. All right. So that'll be my practice run, and I'm going to come on here and actually give you guys just what I wrote because it's complete within itself. Okay. Um, so the message is about the difference between hell, heaven, limbo, and purgatory. Okay, these are different states of consciousness that you're going to be able to see in your reality. Okay, you don't wait to actually die of the flesh to experience these levels of existence. Okay, as we are learning, growing, ascending, and the more we are here, you can actually experience these levels of consciousness while you're in your vessel. Okay, your spirit is going through a soul journey in the flesh right now as you're listening to this. Okay, now when you guys wake up in the morning and then you are experiencing reality for that particular day, okay, you can actually be traversed through these levels of consciousness throughout your day depending on what things that you are, where your resonance is, what frequency you're tapping at. Okay, hell is a frequency, heaven is a frequency, purgatory is a frequency, limbo is also a frequency. Okay, I can often tell whether or not I'm in purgatory. I used to be in limbo at some point in my past. Okay, when I was on the 6th frequency, which has to do with the past, and I flipped it to a 9, so I'm ascending. Okay, if you don't understand what that means, it's okay. Some of you will understand what that means, and good job on your journey. Okay, but yes, when I was operating in limbo, oftentimes in your reality, you're going to see the skies are super cloudy. It's going to feel as if you're just like a wandering soul. Okay, if this is describing what you're in, listen up. I'm going to describe the scenario, the reality in which you're in, and I'm going to give you the codes in order to ascend it. Okay, so you can get back to heaven, okay, or be accepted into heaven accordingly, okay, as you are gaining conscious awareness, okay. Um, Hell is a frequency. It is usually one of, I want to say, destruction, right? If you're looking around, you're seeing a lot of drama, a lot of war. Okay, that is a frequency of hell. If that's occurring in your reality, that's the frequency in which you're a vibrational match to. Okay, and I'm going to describe that more in detail in this video. Okay, heaven is also a frequency. Not many people meet there. Okay, no, I'm not saying not many people meet there. Okay, if you're coming from a particular paradigm, you're not going to see a lot of people who actually choose to enter heaven, but it's a choice to enter heaven. It's always a choice. Everything we do is a choice. Okay. The only people keeping sinners out of heaven are the actual sinners. Okay. So just be mindful of that. Okay. Yep. Purgatory and limbo. So let me take a pause, take a sip, and let's get into the reading. Okay. I'm drinking pineapple smoothie. Okay, and there's like some chunks of pineapple, and it actually tastes really good. Okay. Shout out to Mother Nature. Just a brief plug. Okay. All right. So hell. Let's start with hell. Dom dom dom. Hell frequency. Okay. This is the rejection of God. The rejection of God. Subconscious rejection of their creator. Okay. If you're experiencing states of depression, if you are experiencing state of I guess war within oneself, anxiety, you're operating on the frequency of hell. Okay. And there's many on this frequency. It's a frequency that has entrapped most of us because we've given a lot of our power away in the lives that we have walked before. Okay. Now, women are the guardians of heaven. We shape and create civilization. Okay. And you can ascend from the levels of hell through what we call grace and forgiveness for our creator. Okay. And then so for any sin we were born into. Okay. You know how this idea in Christianity, you're born into sin, right? Yes. Some of us were actually born into sin. Not all of us, not everybody, but some of us were actually born into sin. And when we say this, I mean, the woman who brought you earthside was not operating in divinity. Okay. Or she was not she didn't gain knowledge of herself yet. Okay. She was not knowledgeable of her spirit, of her power, probably under some kind of suppression somewhere. Okay. And then she conceived you. All right. That your soul was on that current frequency when she conceived you. All right. So she used her body as a portal to bring forth your spirit, your soul, earth side. Now, you could have been in the frequency of hell, meaning that you're both your mother and your father, the feminine and masculines that came together and used the power of God to actually create life and open a portal that brought forth your soul, your being. Okay, we're not operating in divinity. They're in lower level natures of lust, lower level natures of greed, lower level natures of wrath, right? This is what they experienced while they were actually giving you life. Okay. A lot of people don't want to stay in hell. All right. And so this is where a lot of us spirits were also operating or experiencing the frequency of abandonment because people don't like being in hell. Okay. And they didn't use their power responsibly. Okay. But the way that you particularly ascend from hell is through grace and forgiveness. If you decide to go down the route of rejecting God, condemning the mother, your mother, who made this choice to actually conceive you, to bring you earthside, you're automatically triggering the resonance of frequency of depression. Okay? You're triggering the frequency of depression. All right, let me take a pause. All right, let's continue with this page. Okay, grace is the way that you can ascend. Forgiveness is the way you can ascend, right? This is why people say you go through Christ consciousness, right? You don't judge, you don't condemn, you just forgive. Okay, and you allow, because now you're given the opportunity to actually rise from hell. All right, and if you do it well, they're able to watch you and also rise as well, right? You don't have to try to convince anyone to enter heaven. Okay, you don't beg people to enter heaven. They have their own choice to enter whenever they decide to want to. It's a choice. Everything we do is a choice. Okay, now the only thing is that you can do is you can shine so bright and have that glory of God within you that you're able to show them that there's a different way of living. Okay, and then they can make that personal choice on their own through their dark nights of the soul, because the sun is just getting hotter. Okay, that grace allows our ascension out of hell. There are those that want you to stay in hell to allow other lower level thought forms to plant seed in your heart. They want to experience being human. Okay, they prey on the hurt, traumatized. They prey on your hurt and traumatization and your trauma. Okay, once forgiveness happens and Christ consciousness is being embodied, they no longer can have dominion in you. Once you decide to heal from that, once you gain understanding, you forgive your mother in particularly, all right, and you understand that you still have divine breath. She's given you life force in order to ascend. Okay, from this level on, you actually become more grateful than criticizing. All right, because God only knows your particular spirit may have stayed there and didn't have a vessel in order to transmute, in order to enter heaven. Okay, because that's all these lower level thought forms, which you were actually once were as well. I once were as well. They didn't have a pathway until they got a vessel in order to prove the change of subconsciousness made physical. Okay, so it's a choice. All right. Now, if you decide to stay in a traumatized mindset, decide not to heal the hurt that you have in your heart, you're going to continue to be on that level. Now, time is also just ticking. Your vessel is on a time limit. Okay. So when you do to your final resting place, if those things are still lurking in your subconsciousness, if that's still lurking in your heart, you're going to also die again on that level in which you were born. Okay. And then you're going to wait for another woman to descend from her grace, okay, sleep with a man of equal frequency of resonance in hell, okay, and then try to, I guess, entice her to give you another chance to ascend. Okay, if you're listening to this, you don't have to wait for all of that. You can do it now. You can do it now. Okay, I think so. If you just wake up and decide to choose to live life different, okay? There's so many possibilities for life, no matter what level of hell you are born into. Okay, and by hell I mean destruction, war, chaos, whatever thing that was not of divinity. There's so many levels that you can ascend to. There's so many possibilities in which you can go and have these lessons, okay, in a fun way. So don't get caught up in a hurt. Don't get caught up in trauma. Enjoy your life. Okay, that's part of it. Okay, some die to their physical vessel while still in communion with these thought forms, entities, fragmented spirits. And this is their final resting place until another woman decides to conceive a child while being an energetic match to that level of hell. The offspring will then have a chance to make it to heaven through life choices, love, and leadership from their mother. During the trial of their soul will determine the ascension of the bloodline. Okay, so that is how you ascend from hell. Okay, whew, good, thank God. So just be mindful of that. Okay, it doesn't have to take you 40 years to gain this understanding. Hopefully, this video reaches who it needs to reach to for you to be this a wake up call. If you're in that frequency of hell, you can choose to get out. One, you need to forgive. You need to heal whatever trauma. Let go of the things that you thought was your identity, as far as where you come from. Let go of entitlement. Let it go. Let it go. All right, that's the only way you can actually ascend. Okay, let me take a pause. Okay, now, if this sounds familiar, if you actually are a mother who's given birth to a child on a certain frequency of hell, okay, you're really not enjoying motherhood because it's a journey from this consciousness to the next. Okay, and now you have a physical child, right, who's embodying the consciousness of its conception. Okay, so babies and fools are pure in heart. Once you become of age, you start carrying your own sins. Okay, so you're looking at this child. When that child reaches 7, they are able to carry their own sins. Thought forms, entities will come to you. Okay, and it's very important to hold a strong foundation and teach the children strong principles. Okay, now here are some principles that have given to me from my divine mother in order to help those who are having trouble with this. Okay? Teach your children self love, independence, and critical thinking. Self love, independence, and critical thinking. All right? That's from my mother. And I will also add on that you should also teach them forgiveness, respect, and honesty. Forgiveness, respect, and honesty. Make sure you're instilling these values. This is going to allow their ascension to be a lot easier. Okay, the quicker that you're able to instill those principles, they wouldn't have to take 40 years to get to heaven. Okay, they can experience it and then have more opportunities for ascension and make better alliances for your bloodline. Okay, now let me take a pause. Okay, so we're going to get to purgatory, heaven, and limbo in a few. All right, I want to talk about this. So for those of us that were born into religion, all right, and you allow another man to anoint your head, right? And this is maybe through baptism, christening, right? I was baptized. And a lot of this concept comes from like a Catholic church understanding of how this goes, but it really doesn't matter what foundational background. These things are just what exists, okay? It's what just exists in the world. And then different religions saw the pattern and then they tried to control people with it, okay? And this is what we're going to talk to about right now, okay? When you enter religion, you allow another man to anoint your head. So any lower thought forms or spirits go on to him and the organization as an entity. He or she serves, okay, through their divine breath. Okay, once you give your power, let's say you submit someone and they're giving that power to anoint over your head, your children, all this stuff. The whole thought process is that when lower level spirits come, right, they are speaking for you in spirit. Okay, now they often exchange this for money. This is when you're giving tithes and stuff. You're giving your power away to another person outside of you, and then you pay them in order to keep those entities away from you. All right, now this is power you already have. You can anoint yourself. You don't have to actually go to a religious institution. Okay, but people like being in numbers, majority, whatever. I'm just letting you know. Now, the only thing is that you come into a problem with that is if you give that power away, right? You got to be mindful. Let me say, if you give that power to a corrupted organization, okay? Corrupted organizations have already given into lower level entities whom now have dominion over the organization and their subjects. So if you go to a person and that person struggles with lower level entities, addiction, lust, big one, okay, wrath, if they are struggling with these lower level entities, that has become their godhead. That's who they're serving. All right. So if you go now and you're bowing, that energy is now on you. Okay. So now you become a slave to that. All right, that was the whole point of why they went and they corrupted a lot of people who have so quote unquote power, meaning people are coming to them for assistance. They were getting a lot of currency from people. Okay, and then they try to corrupt their hearts, and then that you become a slave to that entity. Okay, until you decide to call your power back. So be mindful of whom you're giving your power away to, especially if they don't serve, especially if they don't share the same genetic expression of you. That you have to be mindful of that. Okay, um, fundamental codes are in your genetic expression, right? Balance strains. Remember, you have as within, so without. So a lot of these, look at my genetic expression. In my particular genetic expression, we were kind of already born with a right, knowing what is right, what is wrong, what is against Ma'at, okay, what is against, what's not in balance within ourselves, all right? But when the world acts upon us, right, when you're in different frequencies, you end up get wavering into this murky place until you're able to ascend out of it, until you're able to wake up. Okay, so just be mindful of that, especially if whatever you're doing inside of you, it creates instability. It's what you're going to see outside of you. Okay. These organizations oftentimes uses hypnosis, subconscious programming to lead you to make choices that feed your own instability, which projects an unstable reality. And so you have to keep going around the chain. Now you're experiencing fear. Matter of fact, when you don't pay your dues or something, like if they're not happy with you, they would actually unleash those spirits into your space. Okay, because once you've given them power over you, and then on top of it, you're not being accountable for your own shadows, your own things that you're fearful of, you're not really trusting God, right? They're able to have this dominion over your subconsciousness, control. Okay. Um, and also if you're lying to yourself, if you're deceiving yourself in any kind of thought form. Okay, so this is why, again, the fundamental principles: self-love, independence, critical thinking, forgiveness, respect, and honesty. All right, it's never too late for you to learn these principles or incorporate these principles into your being. I just if you have a child, I do recommend trying to instill in these principles into them early. It's going to prevent a lot of nonsense. Okay, so during the time of limbo. All right. Some souls, I was in limbo at some point as well. All right. Limbo is a period in which you believe in God the Father, yet you have not embraced God the Mother. Okay. The one who actually, the weight of the responsibility of your conception is on her. Okay. Especially if she decided to it's a choice. It's a choice to lay with man. Okay. Um, and hopefully she has been patient and she vetted the contents of his heart prior to committing the act of conception. Okay. If not, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. Like I said, in your bloodline, you're able to ascend it. Okay. But let's say you in particularly are experiencing limbo. This is a great sign that you have not repaired your mitochondrial DNA. You haven't forgive your mother. Okay, you haven't allowed the blessings of her life force energy, all right, to surround you, right? You've put up a barrier because that love, even if it wasn't made physical, is still in the ether as long as she decides to give you life. Okay, especially if she herself lost her life force energy is now with you, right? And in the space in which she is no longer in physical body, she still is required to help make alliances with those of us who are still on the earth to try to assist you. Okay, because that love, it's bar none. No one could ever love you more than your mother loves you. No one, no one, no one, no one, no one. Okay, life force energy, the most valuable currency. Okay, so if you're in limbo, you believe in God the Father. You may have forgiven your father for whatever sins or whatever things, but you have not yet embraced God the Mother. Okay, forgiven the father for the layer of hell or sin you were born into, but still hold contempt for your mother. Right, you must go through Christ consciousness, forgiveness, right? Non-judgment, and then you can enter heaven. Okay? Limbo is the stage in which you have not consciously made a choice to forgive your mother. It's when you have not consciously made a choice to drop the boundaries of hurt that you may have felt. I hear abandonment, the abandonment that you felt when she decided to conceive you. You have not accepted There's layers to this, by the way, right? Because this is all journey into healing, journey into forgiveness, right? So don't beat yourself up about it. But I'm just bringing it to your attention that if you're experiencing limbo and you're kind of lost, bored, it could be a sign that you need to be able to connect to that energy, right? Connect to your mothership, that mitochondria DNA, the powerhouse, okay? Because there may be some love there that you're not being able to receive because you're holding her in contempt about something, okay? If it's not that your mom passed away and your mom did something during your childhood that hurt your feelings as a child, and that's absolutely valid. This is what the shadow work is. But you must believe that your mom loved you. You have to like incorporate this in your spirit, else you're going to be in constant states of limbo. Okay? The fact that you have divine breath, all right, because she could have killed you. I know I say this often on my channel, okay? But the level of vulnerability, okay? And matter of fact, she can't really give you something she doesn't have for herself. So if she was in a state of not loving herself and she conceived you, okay, you have to have patience, okay? And as the bloodline, you continue to ascend because the higher level deities are not sleeping. They're watching. Okay. So show your mom what love looks like for self so that she can also learn. Okay. Don't hold her in contempt. Okay. Because she's going to go through her own dark nights of the soul in order for her own ascension. And you're going to be a guiding light for that. Okay. I'm not saying stick around her. I'm not saying anything like that, depending on how far in hell she decided to descend. Right. And she hasn't realized that the things that she's doing to herself, she does to you. All right. And the things that she does to you, she's doing to herself. Okay. And she hasn't realized that yet. All you got to do is start treating yourself right. Remember, self-love, independence, critical thinking, forgiveness, honesty, and what was the last one? Anybody? Bueller. Respect. Show her what respect for oneself looks like. Show her what self-love looks like. Show her what honesty looks like. Show her what critical thinking looks like. Okay? And so on. Okay? So, if you have enough grace to forgive your father, you have enough grace to forgive your mother. You oftentimes, again, because it falls on the women of society to shape society, we oftentimes we delay on that part. That part takes a little bit longer, right? Because it's like, why did you choose this level? All right. And to be honest, there's a bigger divine play at hand. Okay. It's because you are being called. And you remember, you also agreed to come here. You were already on that level of consciousness. Your spirit was there. Okay. And now that you have a flesh body, she's given you a body, you're able to ascend. So don't hold her in contempt. Just do better. Just do better. That's it. All right. Let's go on to purgatory. Okay. Purgatory. Purgatory is a frequency. It's a vibration of reality in which you are in between places. Okay. In purgatory, the soul is already promised to heaven. It's already promised. Okay. You personally agreed to go to heaven. You're like, yes, I want to forgive. You make a conscious choice. I'm going to forgive my mother. And you could vocalize this at any point in your life. You make a conscious choice to love your mother, to love yourself, and to love where you come from. Love who made you, regardless of any acts. And that's the forgiveness part. That's the grace part. Okay. So if you have made a conscious decision to do so, then higher level thought forms are going to be able there. They're going to be there like, boom, boom. Look at me, right? These thought forms, these lower level entities are going to try to bring you back. Okay. But they place you in a matter of purgatory, right? In purgatory, you are able, you must be able to die from the sin within. Okay. Let's see. In purgatory, the soul is already promised to heaven, but they died with sin in their hearts. Anything that goes against oneself, anything that splits your consciousness, anything not in peace. Purgatory is a period in which this is purified. You will see glimpses of heaven while in purgatory. These people choose to be one with God, one with your creator. They don't reject God. They embrace her, already activated and heal and have healed their damaged mitochondrial DNA. cleansing their heart so God can truly live there without boundary or resentment. Divine breath, divine life was always given with purpose, no matter what level of hell you were born into. No matter what level of hell you were born into, you can choose to rise from. Okay? The more that you hold up boundaries against your mother, resentment against your mother, it's the I guess the longer in purgatory you can stay. Okay? Receive the love of God. All right? All right? And it's really more of a spirit too, by the way, right? You may, in your physical reality, you may not be able to see it yet, but the more that you actually pray for your mother, your higher, that connection is very powerful. Okay. And in spirit, you even saying a prayer for her, like, I love you. I see you. Thank you for life. I'm telling you, this works wonders. Okay. And no matter which realm she's in, whether she's on the opposite side of the veil or this one, she'll be able to feel it. Feel it. Okay. Both parties have to relinquish any contentment, guilt. You don't want them to stay in any sense of guilt, because that keeps them in hell. It keeps them in the frequency of hell. Okay. And as a bloodline, it behooves all of you to actually heal all of this crap. Okay. It's not about pointing fingers. It's not about war. If you're at war with your mother, you're literally in the frequency of hell. Okay. Forgiveness. And then you all ascend and you start seeing the fruits of that labor in heaven. Okay. Okay. Perfect way to talk about heaven. Heaven is really not that. I mean, it is what it is. It's a place of peace. It's a place of abundance. I mean, you don't want for nothing. Everything that is taken care of by spirit. Okay. And then your physical body gets the rewards of that, of being in alignment with your higher self. Okay. It's very peaceful, right? You're not surrounded by enemies, frenemies. You're not surrounded by this kind of entities. They're too low. They can't even reach you because you're so high. All right. And you guys are smoking weed, smoking ganja. It's like that all the time. All right. And you don't have to burn up your lungs to be there. It's just there. We are just here now. Okay. There's no need to escape because we're living the life. We're already in heaven. Okay. So heaven. In heaven, you will know who. Oh, but another thing I want to talk about was in limbo. When you're in limbo, when you're in purgatory, right? You are. Let me just read this page. But you require some people to pray for you, right? So let's say your mother no longer has a physical vessel. In the space that you have, people can pray for you on the behalf of their spirit. They can send their spirit, their higher self, to be like, hey, I send cues for this particular soul to see here so that she can get guided back onto the road of salvation, guided back to the road of heaven, so that she doesn't stay in the frequency of hell all her existence. Okay. And those of us who don't let lower level entities have dominion over their vessels, okay, we're able to ascend past lower level stuff and then still put a good word in, right? Like, hey, if we set the resonance here and they're able to reach it, allow them pathway forward. Okay. So this is why it's important to treat people kindly, treat people well. You never know who was sent to answer what prayer, who they're answering some prayer in the ether. Okay. Because we can hear God frequency quite clearly. All right. So treat these people right. Don't disrespect them. Don't allow your lower level natures to try to deceive them. Don't allow your lower level natures to try to, just corrupt. Okay. Because everything's being recorded. Every single thing. All right. Those of us who actually do our shadow work, we can actually hear your shadows. Okay. So it's kind of hard for you guys to kind of manipulate us. Anything else? Let me take a pause. Okay, so we have, until you prepare the relationship with your mother, you will not be able to enter heaven. Okay, purification is a state, right? You want to be in the purification of purgatory, not really limbo. Okay, limbo, it's a place of just stagnation, boredom. Okay, addiction frequency lives here. And you could be addicted to anything. You could be addicted to drama. You could be addicted to drugs. You could be addicted to lust. Okay, it's very filthy here. Okay, it's really ghetto. Okay, just look around. Okay, and a lot of you in limbo open up portals to hell out of boredom, out of impatientness, impulsiveness. Okay, you open these gateways to hell in your dwelling places. I've seen it. Okay, and then it allows these lower level thought forms to just inhabit the home. It's very toxic, actually. Okay, so forgive your mothers. Forgive your mothers. Okay, take accountability for your life. Take accountability for your life because you existed on that plane of existence when she conceived you. Okay, that's where you already resonating at. I don't know what lifetime it is for you, but that's where you ended up in the last lifetime. Okay, so repair your DNA, repair your mitochondrial DNA. Let me take a pause. Oh, I am not taking a pause. Oh, golly. All right, so we're back. So, all right, so there's some spirits that pray for you, and there's some spirits that pray on you. This is the two different levels. Okay, there's benevolent spirits, right? And we can cross paths as long as you're actually if that desire is in your heart, we can hear you, and we will be able to find you, right? But we are not attached to you in any way. Please, please, okay, please. We don't do this here. Whatever tricks that you've learned in the lower level natures of life, it will not work on us, and it may even frustrate you. Okay, and then when God is like, when divine is saying, leave now, split now, we will leave happily. Okay, because we want to get to where our resonance is truly at with other like-minded people on our frequency who are able to sustain it. Okay, and then we can party and have fun. Okay, we want that. All right. So when we're on assignment, we're on assignment. Please don't get confused with anything else. Okay, you start introducing levels of hell, we will be there and we will listen. Okay, and we're able to go into the shadow. All right, so it's not about perception of goodness because you can't lie to this frequency. Okay, you can't lie to this frequency. All right, and if you're opening levels of hell from your past in our present, those shadows will come and they will start talking to us. Okay, so we can hear them, right? We have impartiality. You cannot make a case in spiritual court and don't expect the defendants to come like, oh, someone's talking crap about me, because time and space is only an illusion. All right, so if you're bringing the past into the present, make sure that you're saying something with a clean heart, and that you also are taking accountability for your part in it. Okay, and not just doing blame, because those shadows will come in, and they'll come in with the quickness too, and they're like, oh, what's she saying? She said this, this, and this. Well, do you know that she did this, this, and this, and she's also doing this and this against you? She did this to these people, and that they will tell you all your business. Okay, but it doesn't matter, because for those of us that are on assignment, we still have to offer redemption. We still have to also offer salvation. No, we cannot give that to you. We could only try to give you the codes in order for you to work it out in your brain for you to then have your ascension. Okay, no one meets by accident. Okay, I've had divine angels who come in, step in, and they give me particular codes for me to ascend. Okay, and you can't be too reliant on that either, because if they're not operating, if they're depending on what they're operating at, right? You can only ascend from whatever level they have ascended from. Okay, I'm not trying to confuse you guys. I don't want to get too much into that, because it's a particular walk that you have to walk to understand what I'm saying. Okay, you have to know the love of God to enter heaven. You have to be able to receive the love of God to know the love of God. Allow heart connections. God must live in your heart. From there is the access of all other gateways of your mind, body, and soul. Okay, did you get that? That one's a big one. Okay, God must live in your heart, not your poom poom, not your mind. She must live in your heart space. Through there, all of this other stuff opens up. All of that other stuff is gateway open. Okay, your heart tells the truth. Okay, and your heart was given to you by your mom, your mother. Okay, so you have to forgive. In heaven, you will know whose spirit prayed for you while in purgatory. You have to enter purgatory first. You cannot pray for yourself. Someone has to vouch for you through your actions, through your honest assessment of your heart. This way they can make the prayers in truth. Okay? We can't lie to God at the end of the day. Okay? So if I'm over here saying, oh, Tabitha, not Tabitha Brown, she's a saint. But Tabitha is such a good person. Meanwhile, your shadow self is over here doing all kind of nonsense, operating in confusion, right? It won't go, right? It won't go. So when we make certain prayers for people to ascend, right? If you look at certain spiritualists, sangomas, your priests, right? When they include your name in certain prayers, they're actually, and they do that for currency. They're vouching for you. Okay. And they may be actually vouching for you in matters of deception, depending if their frequency is not high. Okay. If they're also operating on lower level entities, right? But for those of us who seek truth in all things, we're able to see your shadow, see your light, offer forgiveness, and then also still pray for you to get your ascension with a clean heart, meaning we don't want anything from you, right? But we were on assignment, and then God was like, what's your assessment? What was it? Right? And we're like, well, this, and this, right? And then this shadow came, and this is what she needs to work on. Okay? We don't really need to pray for material stuff, guys. You know, I got caught up with this last cycle. It's not about praying for material things for people. All right? It's more so about allowing their soul to be able to enter certain portals to enter heaven. So when I use my ashe to pray for you, I am now sending my spirit to either inhabit someone close to you, someone like, hey, my spirit body, when I go to sleep, right? Even now, it's working somewhere. Okay, and it's gonna channel certain genes in someone next to you, and then you're probably gonna recognize me in that person. Hopefully, if you're operating on a certain frequency. So where I cannot be physically in your present because they're protecting me from your nonsense. Okay, someone who is close to you can hear my vibration as long as they are actually do truly have some kind of love for you, right? Some kind of care for you. Okay, and then they will tell you the things from my spirit eyes. Okay, from my spirit. Okay, if that makes sense. Okay, so be mindful of that. There's spirits in the shadow who operate in the dark. There's spirits who operate in the light. There's spirits who operate in both. It's a skill set. It's a skill set. Okay, let me take a pause. Okay, so with that being said, there's spirits. Okay, depending on what frequency you're tapping into. So if I decide now to take alcohol, I will be on the frequency of those who drink alcohol. Okay, we're all going to be matching in frequency. All right, now I still have divine presence in my heart, so I'm still divinely protected in this realm. Okay, but all the shadows that are there were there. When we have communion, when you share foods with different people, you enter. There's going to be a frequency merging. Right? It may not be able to sustain depending on how vast, what level of heaven I'm on, what level of hell this other person on. Are they in purgatory? Are they in limbo? Am I in heaven and they're in purgatory? Am I in heaven and they're in limbo? There's going to be a mismatch. Okay, but we meet in order to make the connection. So that's all we got to do really is make the connection. And then we deliver messages and then we exit out. From there, God, the universe takes over. All right. And then it's up for you to operate and recognize the algorithm, recognize the spirits, what spirits you're speaking to. Okay. And if it's one of peace or one of corruption, one of deception. Okay. So that brings me to the next thing about speaking ill of the dead, to include those whom souls are trapped in demonic forces. Demonic fragment spirits are embodied in the vessel. Okay. Anything you speak on them invites them into your space, as they have a right to defend in spiritual court. Okay, in any time and space. Speaking into a space when the stars are aligned, they may come to reveal things. Keep my name out of your mouth. This is an energy. Okay, this is a frequency thought form. All right, so when, even now, even in the Caribbean, people say, when your ears start ringing, right? Or you call somebody and they're like, I just said your name, right? It doesn't matter what time and space. You know your energy signature. You know when somebody's talking ill of you. Okay, so even the demonic energies have that tap in. Okay, and as long as you're talking and you over here da 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 da, right? Because there's some who are dead in spirit because they serve to serve a certain master, right? They have vessels, but they don't have the spirit of God in them. Okay, demonic or fragmented. They can still hear you, and you invite them into that space. Okay, And then they got stuff to say. So whoever you're complaining to, they're like, hey, did you know that she did this? Did you know that this and this? Okay, it becomes like that. You know, you're watching court at like a courtroom, spiritual courtroom, right? And then you have someone who's here, like, you know, paying attention or whatever, and we're on assignment to actually help. And then there's the fragmented spirits, the lower level entities who are like, she can't go to heaven. Don't allow her in there because she did this and this. If I can't get in, she definitely can't get in. All right, and they try to talk trash on your name, but you know,